Your mind is limitless. The possibilities are endless. Awaken Your Mind Magic shows you how you can dream limitlessly and live your life on a new level. Susan Kathleen speaks with ordinary people who are living extraordinary lives using the power of their mind. Abundance, prosperity, and success. There are no limits to what you can dream. Join Susan Kathleen on a journey into your dreams, making a difference and living life on your own terms. This is Awaken Your Mind Magic.
Hello and welcome everyone. My guest speaker today is April Mahoney. She's host on the Edge with April Mahoney. She's with Blog Talk Radio and she's a poet, author, she's a producer, talk show host, radio personality. She's a community activist, amongst many other things that we will talk about here during Awaken Your Mind Magic. And it's noted right here that April is an all-round good person. So welcome, April. It's good to have you here today. Tell us about yourself and your incredible journey, your story, and how you've arrived to where you are now.
Well, thank you. And, what I am most importantly is a friend to Susan Cook. You are really a great person. You got a great spirit and personality. So thank you. I feel very privileged that you asked me to be on your show.
Well, I'm very privileged to have you because you have got such a huge following. Tell the audience how many people you've got who follow you.
About 58,000 in 38 countries. But, it took work. It came from humble beginnings. My mentor, Cyrus Webb, asked me one day to co-host with him on his nationally syndicated radio show. And I was like, well, what am I going to talk about? He goes, you're a great conversationalist. You're a great orator. You're a poet. You'll have plenty of things to talk about. Well, Susan, I got the bug after I heard the questions and I got the responses and I got the feedback from the audience. I just kept listening to it. And, that was the aha moment. I knew I had arrived. This was something that I wanted to do. And so I said, well, what am I going to talk about? Well, I'm not a one-trick pony. I need to have as much diversity and options and choices that the law will allow. So I said, well, where am I going to find these guests? He said, grab the low-hanging fruit. I went through my Rolodex. People don't realize how valuable a Rolodex is. You've made contact with these individuals. You've had with them. You've exchanged information. They know what you're about. You know what they're about. The follow-up is key. So I reached out because I do have a platinum Rolodex to my top 25 and nobody said no. They said, we'd be honored to, help you out in your endeavors. You've done things for us. So let's have a conversation. And so I really learned to craft a message, to introduce, and then educate the people, and then recap. It's very important that there is a structure to this. In the process, I wrote 3 books, 2 of them of poetry, one with my brother, Small Statements That Mean a Lot. The other one, Utter Magic. That is a collection of 102 poems that I had. And then I wrote a children's book, a anti-bullying environmental love story, Rico the Seagull, Making the Best Out of a Mess. And
That's a wonderful title. I love it.
Well, it was an amazing story. I saw a seagull snatch a sandwich out of a woman's hand. And I tell you, she was livid. I laughed so hard. It was incredible. And then the bird, I saw him bathing in a fountain about 2 or 3 days later. And so I gave him a nickname of Rico. And I pulled out my journal and I started penning the story. So as the story evolved, it was an environmental disaster, and then it turned into an anti-bullying, and of course, there's always a happy ending. But the happiest ending was, unfortunately, there was a natural disaster here in the United States, and I went to the company that caused this man-made disaster, and I said, you really owe these children because you've really done some damage. I said, I would propose that you buy one of my books for each one of the students in your school district. Susan, girl, they wrote me a check for 7,000 books. Yes, they did.
Oh my word, that's fabulous. What a wonderful story. This is what I love about you, April, is you are just so spontaneous, and you have this ability to create these wonderful stories, let alone the story about Rico, but your own story and on how things happen when you have this mindset where you can awaken your mind magic into understanding that there's more out there than we could ever believe, and that God is great and has the ability, or universal spirit, as some of us call God, and has this ability to be able to create this wonderful energy and manifestation. So you also produce shows, don't you? Community events, and
My brother.
Tell me more about that.
Well, my brother was in the music and entertainment industry his entire life. He performed with the Beatles, Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones, Sarah Vaughan. He wrote music for and songs for Ricky Nelson. He had a huge discography. So always being around entertainers was the norm for me. So I kind of looked at them as regular people. But with them, they taught me so much. They taught me about keeping your proprietary rights. They taught me about getting paid before you perform.
Oh, good plan. I need to take a tip on that one.
Well, so many people have gotten, jacked up out of their money because they just did not, follow through, or because they are the creative. They're not the business manager. And so their job is really to go out and entertain, make people happy, sing, dance, whatever, and they let someone else take care of the business, but they have to understand that it is the music or entertainment business. So they have to be really smart about that. And so I looked at my brother's example and I watched him perform, and I got to go on stage with him. But I also looked at what was going on behind the scenes, because that's what's happening now. People need to be aware that a lot of things that you see on television is created for a multitude of reasons: for money, for sensationalism, for power, for influence, for control. So you still need to be able to edit and filter. You really need to get your mind set right. Sometimes move away from the device, the social media or the television that's constantly, rewinding and putting the same poison into you over and over again. It's like my mother. My mother's 90 years old. And we'll look at one particular news broadcast and she'll say, "Baby, don't change the channel because it's breaking news. It's breaking news." I said, "Mama, this is the same news that's been breaking since 8 o'clock this morning." She goes,
Bless her.
Right. And she's looking for something. And that's what people are looking for. They're looking for that next great thing. So understand that is a part of the production. That is what they are producing. But we still have to use our mind and be able to edit and filter fact from fiction.
This is so true. And we were talking earlier on, before we actually started this podcast, on how we can watch television only if we choose to, and not do what your blessed mom does, and watch a repeat and repeat, because psychologically it actually goes in, and very often the breaking news is very distressing. So this creates an energy that we really don't need in our lives, April, and this is why I love you as well, because you're so buoyant. And you come across with this joy and this positivity that is so inspiring?
Well, my guests inspire me. They really do, because my show is not so much about the deliverable. There's a lot of coaches out there. There's a lot of accountants. There's a lot of authors. But what I want to do is I want to pull out the human being. How did they get to this point? What is their aha moment? What are they pouring into people? And what's going to grow organically from that? What is going to make the person hearing this story richer, better, smarter, wiser? That's what's important to me. So I love to, be surprised by my guests. I don't do a whole lot of prep. I do my homework because I want to know. And I'm very selective about the individuals that I bring on the edge. I'm not looking for sloppy seconds. I'm looking for influencers and game changers, people that are ready to level up, and it can be on a small scale. It doesn't matter, their title or their degrees, because you can have as many degrees as a thermometer, Susan, and not know the temperature.
Absolutely. That is so true. All those pieces of paper.
Right. So what does that really translate into? And I want to know, who pours into them and what is their why? Why are they doing it? So many people say, oh, well, I'm doing it because I want to help others. Hogwash. You want to do it for power. You want to do it for control. You want to do it for influence. You want to be a game changer. You want to leave your imprint on the world. All those things are very valid, and people don't have to feel bad about that, but you need to be honest when you show up. Another big $25 word you always hear people say is your authentic self. Well, Susan, everybody can't show up authentic, girl. Sometimes that's ugly.
I love it. This is what is incredible about you, is your absolute honesty as well, where you coming out and saying we are in this industry
right
for gain, not gain, selfish gain, but we're here because we know our voice can actually change people's lives. We also, like when you were speaking about the people who, thousands of people have become coaches now, and where they say, oh yes, well, I'm doing this because it's from the heart and everything else. Well, surely it is. This is why you've chosen the vocation. However, you can't live on fresh air.
Right.
And it's the business side that I hear you speaking about.
Right.
It's everything that happens behind the scenes and the extremely hard work that it takes to get to where you've actually arrived.
Well, it's still an ongoing process. I work with an ego coach. She's amazing. And what she taught me is how to love my ego, how to position it, how to adjust it, but also give it space. Give it enough space for me to manipulate it, and not in a negative way. And going back to what you said, this is a business, ladies and gentlemen, brains, okay? You cannot pour from an empty copper. All of us have a philanthropic side. That's not the problem. But when you buy into it, when you make an investment in self, that you show up and you are going to produce because you have a viable interest. It's like my daughter, when she went to drive, I wouldn't let her drive until she could pay for insurance. That way, she had a buy-in. She was more careful. She was more cautious because she had a responsibility. And so when people buy into your business, people put another example, books. I talk to so many authors. Oh, well, I give it out at seminars. Well, good luck with that. You got 1,000 books there in your garage staring, looking at you. You wrote that book to be known, to leave an imprint, to give information. You want people to read the pages of the book. It's all right to pay, to have someone pay for your book. Sell your book. You have to print it. You have to ship it. You had to pay an editor. You sat there and painstakingly wrote all of these things. Attach a price to it, okay? Because that lets you know that the person that's buying it is actually going to read it because they've made an investment. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's no shame associated. Now, if you've done it for, therapeutic reasons, I honor that as well. But if you come at me on the edge and you say that you are a quote unquote best-selling author and you're still an ebook, I can't promote you that way because you lack credibility. I'll say wonderful things that your accomplishment, you're up and coming, you've got great dreams and aspirations, but I cannot tell my brains that you are a best-selling author if you don't have the nerve to actually sell your book. Does that make sense?
It totally does. And this is another thing where people just presume that it's going to sell offline. When it comes to a book, it's the same as your podcast or anything else that you do when you're an entrepreneur. You have to get out there and promote it. You have to have the ability to be able to market yourself.
And you are going to be your biggest advocate. I mean, just think of some of the greatest people in the world. Muhammad Ali, what did he say? I remember when I met him one time. He told me, he said, "Am I pretty?" And I was like, "Yes." He says, "Am I the greatest of all time?" I says, "Yes." He says, "Do I float like a butterfly and sting like a bee?" And here he is, deceased. And I still remember that because he made me believe. You look at
He was an incredible man, wasn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at other great leaders, our president, for example, number 45.
Mm-hmm.
Even with all of the discord, he will tell you something and you know that it's not true. But if he keeps ingraining it in you and keeps repeating it over and over and over again, you start to second guess yourself. That's the same way with marketing and promotion. You cannot hand that over to an agent or a marketing person. You still need to drive the car. You are the one that can sell yourself the best. You know what you're about. You know your direction. You know your intention. Of course, you're going to edit and filter. You're going to have to tweak it. But again, you have to be your biggest promoter. You are the greatest. You are the best. You're the authority, the authoritarian. You're the subject matter expert. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame associated with that. Is it your ego? Absolutely. But you're feeding that part of your ego and you're allowing it to live so that it's not suppressed. Because if it's suppressed, as my teacher has taught me, it will erupt and it will erode.
It will. And if you don't use it, you lose it. So this is another thing where I hear you so clearly on this, is that each one of us is unique. Each one of us has the ability to go out there and self-promote. However, when you do sit on your laurels and sit back and think everybody else is going to do it for you, you don't have the ability to get out there for the fame and glory that many of us, well, we all aspire towards it.
Right.
And this is, yeah. And, April, this is something that I find when people, they've been indoctrinated from childhood to not say something because, oh, honey, that's vain, or, you can't let people think that you love yourself, and all of these sort of things. This is such a load of hogwash, because unless you love yourself first, how on earth can you get out there and be something?
All right, now tell the truth, sister, because nobody knows you. And self-love, you cannot give love to someone else if you don't know what it is, if you don't know what it feels like or what it tastes like. I had a strange experience this past weekend. I was at an event, and when I walked in, somebody fanned out. "Oh my God, there's April Mahoney. I follow you. There's the brains and blah, blah, blah." I was so uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable. I mean, I was just there just to hang out, just be regular old me. And I really did not realize the amount of gravitas that I have, acquired. It was strange to me. And I just had to dial back. And I think about when I'm in the presence of people like Ellen DeGeneres or the Reverend Al Sharpton or Nick Cannon. They have this all the time. They can't even go to the bathroom. Someone is following them in the bathroom. taking pictures of them, taking pictures of their kids. So, people want a private side to their life, but you can't be a public figure in the shadows. You have to figure out how big you want to be. And so that was really a learning for me, that I am going to have to expand my bandwidth and get comfortable with this, because again, people that I don't see normally, because I'm dealing, through the computer screen mostly, there's really a reach out there. There's really an impact. I'm really making I'm an influencer. So I have to take that into consideration, and people need to do that as they, sit behind their computers with this keyboard courage saying ugly things. You're going to have to face your audience. You're going to have to face people and get from behind that computer, and then the real you will surface.
That's right. So, I mean, you were former chapter president of Toastmasters International, and you delivered hundreds of motivational speeches and presentations. So you know all about getting out there into the public, away from behind the computer screen. Tell us more about what you've done there, and also, in addition to your writing and your producing and this incredible interviewing you're doing now in your podcasts, you also support a number of nonprofit organizations, and you've done so much there as well. Let us know more about that, April.
Well, again, that's my philanthropic arm, but you cannot pour from an empty coffer. And I am a social activist. I'm not a one-trick pony. I will agree to disagree, even with my guests, respectfully on the edge, because that's what we do. But you don't have to be disagreeable. And so I find that there's a lot of causes that need help, that need a voice, that need support. And I will go out and do it. And that's been everything from working with at-risk youth and gang members, working with the American Red Cross, who's always there for people. I was the outreach coordinator for them, working with animal rescues, working with disenfranchised, overlooked, and underserved, working with human trafficking victims, working with women that have been abused, but then also working with some very powerful, influential women that are making a difference in the world, that are raising a lot of money, theater and art. So, whatever it is, I kind of pick one or two organizations that I really throw my heart into once, a couple times a year. I don't want to overload myself. So that's a lot of fun. Toastmasters was great because I wanted to learn parliamentary procedure. I wanted to reduce those filler words in my conversation, the ums, ahs, likes, whatevers, those type of things. I wanted to be able to introduce the subject, talk about the subject, and recap. I wanted to be able to have the ebbs and flows when I'm doing my poetry, that I was able to just kind of stop and pause and let my words resonate and settle in with you. I wanted to be able to create a reaction. So all of those things, Toastmasters, for a free nonprofit organization, is amazing. They're international. I highly recommend them. So I've been doing a lot of stuff for a long time, and it's paying off. I absolutely love my podcast. I've been working over at KPBS, the public television station. My goal is to have my own show on NPR. But again, do I want to work under someone else's guidelines and restrictions? Because that's what you do, or do I still want to be a solopreneur? And that's not easy. A lot of people say, oh, well, I'm this entrepreneur. Well, you can turn around and be entrepreneur. It's a lot of work. You got to get the client. You got to follow through. You got to get them to buy into you. You got to keep your commitment. You got to pay the bills. You're not a lone ranger. You still need staff in some capacity to help you. You've got to honor them. You got to have good relationships. You got to have good customer service. And then you got to start that vicious cycle all over again to eat.
This is true. And, I also can totally empathize with you here, because I do the same. I'm in the same industry as a solopreneur, and it's a lonely industry.
Yeah, it is. And there's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of people that will, they want to be you. Do you. Don't try to be the carbon copy of someone else. Now, replication is the greatest form of flattery, but don't try to take on what someone else is doing, because you're going to miss your blessing. You're going to miss your opportunity trying to, carve out what someone else is doing. It's like going to a smorgasbord. There's a million things out there, but we're not all going to put the same thing on our plate. Enjoy who you are, craft your own message, expand your message. If you're looking to be a podcaster, if you're talking about nutrition, the nutrition of the mind, the spirit, the heart, the physical body, that would just really expand your guest list, because there's only so many supplements people want to hear about. If you're a coach, what is your niche market? Who is your ideal client? Everybody's not going to be your client. What are you pouring into them? What is your secret sauce? What is your recipe for success? A lot of people talk about monetization. Let me tell you something, Brains. Susan, you don't mind me calling your listeners Brains, do you?
Of course I don't mind. I got an award from you.
That's right. That's right. Let me tell you, everybody wants to monetize. Number one, I need you to really know what you're doing. If you've got a loyal following, then you need to be committed and you need to show up. Just because you've recorded someone's voice or someone's recorded your voice does not make you a podcaster. If you don't have content, if you don't have structure, if you don't have followers, you don't have testimonials, those things are what lends credibility. That's why people tune into On the Edge. And without those things, you can't make any money. There's tons of advertisers out there that would love to support you, but if you don't have receipts and you don't have a following and you're not consistent, they're not going to give you a dime. So, you need to kind of get that under your belt before you think about doing anything else. Love your audience. Love what you do. I don't care if it's selling widgets, if it's, knitting socks, baking, cooking, or being a brain surgeon. But love what you do and enjoy the ride up. That's what's fun. Don't worry about the stress. The money will come. See the outcome. Already be there. Taste it, feel it, touch it, smell it. And then look back at your resources. How am I going to get there? Who's the person that's going to help me? Am I going to talk to April? Am I going to talk to Susan? Am I going to listen to a podcast? Am I going to read a book? Am I going to take a class? Am I going to get a mentor? Am I going to go to a seminar? All of those things are your resources. And then the money will come. It has nowhere else to flow. That's
wonderful advice, and I really like the idea of this positivity of where you do all of these things and you're actually working from your dream backwards, living the dream as if it's truly happening, and that it will happen. And then in creating that, as you say, money goes to where it's meant to go as well. So you then can actually turn your podcast into something or anything in life as you have, April, and turn it into an industry.
Absolutely. And you know what? Be kind and share. Share your information, share your money with people. It's nothing but a vehicle of exchange. You will get more money, but you know what you won't get is more time. You need to value and honor people's time. You need to respect that. If you say you're going to do something, again, like I said, if it's a following, if you got a client, know that these people are entrusting you. They are carving out time in their life that they could be doing something totally different to invest in you. Respect that. Respect that.
This is the most important thing, is respect for another person and that person's time, because you must treat them the way you expect to be treated. And April, you do this the whole time. There's such a reciprocation of respect with the people that you interview. And when people actually ask you the great favor of having you on their show, as I have, I'm really very honored that I have you here, because I know how busy you are. You're about to go off to Italy soon, aren't you?
I am with Mr. Magnificent. Oh, yes. I'll tell you that. And see, that's what the manifestation is. I saw this. I've already seen myself sitting there. I've already seen what I'm wearing. I've tasted the wine on my palate. I'm dipping my olive oil. He's telling me I'm beautiful. Oh, I'm there. And that is what dreams are made of. So when you already live it, it's almost a snapshot and a memory in your mind. You have no other option but to head in that direction. And you embarrass me with your kind words, and thank you so much. But this is truly from the heart, because I seek out my guests. I vet them. I talk to them. You had an incredible story. I couldn't wait to tell. There are so many great people out there, but honor the individual and who they are, and the deliverable is second. It's not always this business person or this author or this or that. That's not how you're going to win. How you're going to win is the understanding who the person is inside.
And the love that you actually send out to that person, April, when you're interviewing them, because I felt so comfortable when you were interviewing me. And I really I opened up. And I told you things that I wouldn't normally tell anybody. So you got the gift.
I know. That's really strange, because, I feel like Oprah sometimes. People cry on my show, and I'm like, wow, but when you are in your element and when you are truly showing up authentic, whatever that looks like, when you have your ego in check, when you're not embarrassed about giving or receiving money or sharing information, the world is an oyster and you have nothing but pearls inside.
Well, you've got a massive necklace of pearls, because everything that you give away as well, with such generosity and in advice and everything else, is really commendable. Tell me more about your wonderful relationship with your husband.
That's my dude.
I love that you're so in love.
I am in love. We've been married for 35 years, and he's the closest thing to perfect that I could ever find. Now, yes, okay, I'm not confused. I'm not dazed. But I've always, Susan, no matter what, and I've told him, and I've been very honest, I keep a little extra in reserve for me, because folks change. They change their mind. And I always want to love him enough that if he ever decided that this is not somewhere that he wants to be, I want to love him enough to set him free. I don't want to control. I don't want to manipulate. I don't want to destroy. 35 years, some people don't. My aunt didn't get 35 days. Her husband came home, told her he was going to get a pack of cigarettes. Girl, he ain't come back yet.
Oh, dear.
So those times, but I cherish those times because I honor him in his space. I respect him. He respects me. It's a love there. He's wonderful. My mother lives with us. She's 90 years old, and I think she likes him more than me because he's a caregiver. He's respectful. He's a hard worker, but he's also a dream catcher. He's not a dream crusher. So he's allowed me to be this free spirit, and I have to honor that with love.
Oh, it's incredible. It's just, when you say that, obviously he's comfortable enough to know that you're not one of these needy, clingy type of people in a relationship where it scares them to kingdom come. And that's obviously why it works so well for you. April, who inspires you apart from the love of your life, your hubby?
God. He calls me there. And I have some of the most intense meditations that are amazing. I'll tell you one quick story. So I was kind of in an impasse. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I had this great meditation. And God said to me, he said, baby. And I said, yes, Father. He says, I have a gift for you. And I want you to open your arms real wide. And I said, really? He says, yes. He said, but what you need to do is you need to change your frequency and you need to change your level of influence. And I was like, what in the world could he be talking about? Change my frequency. So what did I do? I found a women's drum circle. Susan, I went to this drum circle, and I tell you, they did Reiki, and they played the gongs, and they played the singing bowls. It was amazing. And the women were from 2 years old to 90 years old, and they were screeching and screaming. And it was something like I had never felt before. And so I come back and I look at myself in the mirror, and I say, okay, I've got all this power now. God, what am I going to do with it? He said, what did I tell you? You need to change your circle of influence. So I go to this networking meeting, but as I go to this meeting, now, mind you, I didn't know anyone there. I look real cute, girl. I paid my $50 and I talked myself all the way there. I told myself that neuro-linguistic programming of positivity. These women are going to love me. They're going to be nice to me. I'm going to do some business. I'm going to make some great contacts. I talked for 25 minutes. When I got there, Susan, I felt like I had walked into a beehive. Oh, honey. Welcome, honey. Come sit here, honey. Oh, you're so sweet. Oh, you smell so good, honey, honey, honey. But that wasn't the best part. The best part was the keynote speaker turned the audience over to me. She said, do you see that woman out there? I heard her story. I heard her introduction. She says, and I think that she's phenomenal. I want every woman, which was about 80, to line up and meet her and give her your business card. Now, mind you, I'm the only piece of pepper in the salt shaker, okay? I want you to know that. And I could not believe it. I couldn't believe. I was cute when I got there. I was not cute when I left. Girl, those eyelashes was coming off and mascara running down my face. It was something like I can't even tell you. So I close with this, and I tell you that dream so big that you just need someone to tether you down. Do not limit your dreams. Do not put false expectations on yourself. Don't talk bad to yourself, okay? Because you're missing so much. There is so much in the world that you could just grab hold to and share and love, and it will just come to you. And you'll have so much that you can't help but share because it's an overabundance. You just are overflowing. And that's like you, Susan. You are overflowing with love. Yes, you are, ma'am.
Oh, thank you, darling. That's so wonderful. Well, and I love you.
We're gonna hang out. I have no problem coming down to Australia again. I love it.
I have no problem in going across to the States again. I love it. Tell me, what are your goals for your show? Let us know.
Well, I was working on my vision board, and my goal is to really reach out to some people that I know, but I've never really wanted to kind of invade their space and ask them to be guests on my show. And I don't know why. Again, that's, that low-hanging fruit out of respect. Mm-hmm. It's not because I'm afraid, but I'm going to take it to the next level. I'm going to create a different podcast, and I'll tell you offline. I can't tell you publicly, but it's going to be incredibly wicked. It's not any of this business stuff. It's not any of this, thinking real hard kind of stuff. It's going to be super, super cool. I really want to work with at-risk youth to help them create podcasts, but also to monetize it. I'm about to start an all-girls chess team because I feel if a woman is strategic, she'll never be a victim. And I am just going to let my voice just ring because that's my gift. I know. I was born to be a communicator. God has given me that gift. And so I'm just going to carry it, like a torch.
You certainly got that gift. Thanks God for putting this wonderful woman. I nearly called you Oprah. Oh, wonderful April on this earth.
Instead of Oprah and Gail, right?
Yeah, why not? So tell me something. How can you make an impact by being an influencer? Let the audience know, because you are such an influencer. People need to be able to hear what your thoughts are on this.
Well, I'll be real honest with you. That's what it's about. It's about being honest.
Yeah.
And it was strange because people's interpretation of what honesty is based off their perception. If it's blue, it's blue. If it's green, it's green. And when you have someone under the sound of your voice, or if you're a surgeon and they're under your knife, or if you are a cook and you are cooking their food, have integrity, have, be a righteous person. You know right from wrong. Just don't come with a sack of shit. Don't do that to people. Really, I mean, it's really not right, and it's going to come back on you. Karma is not to hurt you. Karma is to teach you a lesson. And there's a lot of lessons, and karma comes real quick. So I ask that if you are an influencer, that you're influencing people to do the right thing. The right thing. Because there's so many other people out there that's not doing it. So try to do the right thing. And we all, fall short of the glory. We're all going to make mistakes. But then sit with it, hold it, and be honest. Own it. Because that's how you learn from it. And that's the best thing I can say to be an influencer.
That's very good advice. And when you are influencing and you're out there, you're out there with spoken poetry as well. How do you influence people with when you go around speaking and using that medium?
I think that's so powerful because people, they gravitate to the spoken word. I mean, you look at the world, what's going on, and a lot of things that's happened here in the United States. Nobody fired a bullet. No one said a harm word. No one's dropped a bomb, nothing. But under the sound of someone's voice, they have changed the whole trajectory of what we know as democracy. And so your spoken words are very, very powerful. They're very, very influential. And so if I might, let me say a little poem for you.
Thank you. I'd love that.
What is your it? Whatever it is, I want you to hold it and mold it, love it, anoint it, speak on it, fondle it and freak it. Even sometimes, Susan, we are going to have to tweak it. Move it, groove it, sell it, loan it, store-bought, or organically grow it. You might have to go outside and smoke a cigarette on it. But I want you to stay on it and pray on it, overstand it, understand it, command it, and chant it. Demand it. Learn how to use it, like it, love it, hurt it, but don't shoot it. And be careful when you choose it, whatever it is. It's a knock at the door. Who's that? They want to come in.
I know. It seems like it. They want to come and join. Come on. I know that April's here. Let me come in. That was quite good at that time. I put it on especially for you, April.
Well, you know what? And so I really want people to think about, what is your it? Again, what is the thing that moves you and grooves you? And, what is the thing that you deserve? What is the thing that you love? What is the thing that you honor? What is the thing that you put in your body, that you put in your mind? What is the thing that you exude? If your words had an odor, what would they smell like? What would they taste like? All those things are very, very important if you want to be an influencer in your own life. Forget trying to penetrate somebody else,
This is such good advice, and I love that poem. It's fabulous. And as a poet myself, I respect you. You should see what I'm doing.
I want to hear some of your poetry. I didn't hear any of your poetry.
You're gonna have to call me back sometime, and I will speak the spoken word.
Are you kidding me? Call you. I'm gonna have you back on the edge. Absolutely.
Oh dear, April. how can people get hold of you and get in touch with you? Because I recommend anybody to go out there and find April. And if you're blessed enough, she will choose you to be on her show. She's
You're
so fabulous.
You're good. You know what? You can find me all over the planet. It is April Mahoney. Just Google it. I'm on Blog Talk Radio. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, LinkedIn, Twitter. I only keep, and that's another thing too. Don't oversaturate yourself when you get out there trying to be on every single platform. If that's not where your audience resonates, go on to something else, because people want to be on all of this stuff and they're not there. But they love me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. That is where you will find me. And you know what? You'll find me next to Susan. You can always call her and find me.
You certainly can. Well, you are one of the most dynamic women I know.
Oh, you're so
and you really are. And what I love so much about you is that you just share so much with your followers, your listeners, and people who've been on your show. You're so generous, April. You come in there, you send us messages, and you send us gifts. I have to say, I've been on other podcast shows, interviewed. I've never received anything as lovely as the mug that I have of yours. I drink my coffee out of it every morning, and I think of you. And that's also incredible marketing as well, because I think of you every day.
Well, you know what? And again, people don't realize that product placement, that is marketing. You have to be out there. You've got to let people know that you exist. They've got to, touch you, feel you, and trust you before they'll spend a dime with you. And if you don't do that, there's no marketing. You're just playing. You're just playing business. But when you're in business, you are out there all the time.
This is true. And now, April, you are contactable on your website. I think it's A Good Person. Can you let people know this? And we'll wind down this wonderful interview, because I've been very, very fortunate. I've managed to steal another 20 minutes from you, and I know how busy you are.
We're good. Yeah, I'm going to make a big pot of chili for Mr. Magnificent. I got to work my domestic job now. But you can find me at on the World Wide Web at agoodperson.biz. That's agoodperson.biz. It's pretty much a landing page, because, when you are in media, everything is ever evolving, ever changing. So there's a lot of testimonials and a little bit about me. If you want to purchase a copy of one of my books, Utter Magic or Small Statements That Mean a Lot, you can purchase them directly from me, because again, I wasn't giving a third party a dime. I'm on the grind. Okay. It's all about my money.
Good girl. I'm going to take your tips and I'm going to be using them as of now.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's no problem having in the back of your car like a spare tire, right?
Why ever not? And they can also get hold of you via email, info@agoodperson.biz. Is that correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. info@agoodperson.biz, or just, send me a message in the inbox. And on social media, I really kind of like to direct the traffic there, only because it's real time. You can see the testimonials, you can see the gifts, you can see the interviews. We're going to have this interview up, and you get to see the people. I want you to see the people that are touching other people's lives, not just mine, but they're touching other people's lives with their stories.
Well, you certainly are. I know that you're aiming for 1 million, and you are fast getting 1 million subscribers in the very near future. In fact, I think you possibly got them by now.
Well, and again, I'm not so much into the followers. I'm actually into the leaders. I want the people. So if it's 50,000, 60,000, 90,000, but I want some people that are going to be pouring into others, and that it's really going to resonate. I don't necessarily collect. I like to connect, because, again, I think I was a spider in a previous life. I love to build a web of love.
Well, April, I'm going to say goodbye, and I'm actually going to ask you to tell the guests how you finish your show, your Brains show, where you say, "I'm April Mahoney." Let's lead this out this way, as if it's your show, because I'm so in love with you, and I love the fact that you are just magnificent. So you go for it, girl.
Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Oh. Home Brains.
Thank you so much, April. And thank you so much for being on my podcast. I appreciate it very much.
I know.
And
again, call me afterwards so we can chat about some stuff. I got some great ideas for you.
Thank you so much. You're so generous. Bye now, April.
Bye-bye. Bye, Brains.
Bye, everybody who's going to be Brains. And I'm a Brains, so I'm very, very privileged. Bye-bye, everybody. This is Susan Kathleen from Awaken Your Mind Magic. And thank you so much, April.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye. That's Awaken Your Mind Magic for another week. If anything you've heard today has really impacted you and you want to know more, or you would just like to connect with me, then visit my website, awakenyourmindmagic.com, and reach out for a free one-on-one discovery session with me.
Silver on the outside, silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside, gold on the inside.
Tune in next week, where I'll be discussing more tools to unlock your dreams and live a limitless life that you would truly love to live. I'm Susan Kathleen, and this has been Awaken Your Mind Magic.